First thing when I wake up in the afternoon, I love to sing Johnny Cash. Well, my voice is real low, 'cause as the day goes on, I lose it, just like all the little things I was going to work on. 'Cause I'm a little bitch when you pour me whiskey. Yeah, I'm gonna throw a fit when you put me in.
Somebody buy me a Stream Deck, for fuck's sake. Please. This is getting ridiculous now. There's still music. Do you know what else as well? It's like I do these with two massive lights in my face. And it is really unpleasant. I'll be perfectly honest with you. When I look at the screen, there's a fucking light bulb next to it. And I don't like it. But if I don't have it, it's too dark in here. Hello. Hello. Hello, everybody. Hello. How are you doing tonight? It's Rich. Hi, Ariana. And anybody else who's listening or watching or whatever it is you do while I'm doing this. I don't know. Is this angle working? Am I on? I think so. Probably. Something like that. Oh, it's good to see people here. I'm going to do the random shit talking thing while we wait for more people to turn up. And while I try and look at things on my screen, because there's another light bulb over there. And yet I somehow feel like it's pretty dark in here tonight. Such is life. Have I tweeted? I think I tweeted, right? Do we still tweet? What the fuck do we do now, by the way? What is the verb? I don't know anymore. Okay, if you want to call your website X, fine. Even though your URL is still twitter.com. Does x.com go to it now? I haven't tried. I'm just using my bookmark. Oh, it redirects to twitter.com. Oh, and I see they've taken down the X off the top of the building. Okay. And all as I was getting ready to talk about taking responsibility for narcissism. Dear, oh dear. They've taken the X off the building. And while Elon's company is hemorrhaging money and just desperate for cash and all this stuff, how much money is he pissing away on signage? Like, are they cheap? How much does a giant flashing X cost? I've never... I don't know. I've never looked that up. I have no frame of reference, but they're not a couple of quid, are they? They're not cheap. I mean, it was specially made, unless he just nicked it from Xerox. Hi, Dr. Ruth. Do you know what? And every time I've seen that logo, I think of Xerox. It's the old Xerox X, isn't it? It's not a new X. Like, that's not a new logo. That's the Xerox X. And I just look at it and I think photocopiers. That's where I am. The plain black and white of the website now does not help that. Bring back the bird. I mean, what this has shown up more than anything is, you can do what the fuck you want to your website and company. We're going to call it whatever we like. And you can't do anything about that. Hi, Cluster B Milkshake. Good to see you. Like, you can call it X all you fucking want. But we're just going to call it Twitter now. I think. But is this not... God, he reminds me so much of me. It's ridiculous. Right? When somebody asks, what was your NPD like? It was like that. It was like Elon Musk. That's what it was like. It was, I will do this grand thing because I'm a fucking genius. And you will be amazed. And then you do the thing. And by all accounts, you are not a fucking genius. These things rarely go the way you think they will. Uh and yet, but this guy is like, he's like I was, but there's no one to tell him no. There's no one close to it, no one whose opinion matters to him who tells him he's making ridiculous decisions. Because there's lots of people who tell him he's making ridiculous decisions. He's not going to listen to those people. Uh, and yet he's got billions of dollars at his disposal to do dumb shit with. I didn't have billions of dollars. My damage scope was very much limited by comparison. Uh, but he is unfettered by reality, by the things that limit the rest of us. And what we witness is just total unfettered self-belief and entitlement. And my God, do I think he's just annoying people with the stupid? I don't know. I think it's a mix of things. I think a lot of people are just aghast, just like, grab the popcorn and watch what he's going to do. And I don't blame them. I think people who are annoyed by him are too emotionally invested in stuff. Like, it's just a fucking website. It doesn't matter. There are other websites that do similar things. If anything goes away with Twitter, it doesn't matter. There was a time before Twitter and everything was better then. So I've always been torn on Twitter because I think it's the worst thing humans have ever created. I really do. And I don't say that lightly. I think it's the worst thing humans have ever created. I think it's worse than nuclear weapons. I think it's caused more damage than nuclear weapons have. Like, as bad as nuclear weapons are, there's been like 2 go off near people ever. And that was a long time ago. And Twitter is here right now. And just does, I think, untold damage to people in so many ways over a longer period of time. Because, yeah, it's like a big bar brawl. It is Outrage the video game. And I think it's fucking awful. And I even think it's worse than like things like 4chan, which, yeah, is pretty grim. There is some pretty fucking grim shit on websites like that. And 8chan, which is worse than 4chan. But those are limited niche things, right? Most normal humans are not going to end up on 4chan, right? That's really for a limited group of people who have got issues. My mum isn't going to end up on 4chan, but people's mums are on Twitter, right? Twitter is this much more mainstream, less niche. Get on Twitter. Everyone's on Twitter. The kids' school is on Twitter. All the fun things are on Twitter and all this. And like, it makes it much more pervasive. And people who wouldn't ordinarily be drawn into internet shit get drawn into it and pushed in one direction or another. And I think everything is bad about it. I just have nothing good to say about it whatsoever. And I think I say that I use it because of like work job things, right? I have a YouTube channel, I have a TikTok, I want to publicize these things, I want to be where an audience is, etc., etc. But I think if I really meant that, I'd be on more stuff. You know, I'd put more work into it than I do. I don't put work into Twitter. I don't get much out of Twitter. I put fairly asinine, meaningless shit on Twitter. I don't lose much sleep over the fact that it doesn't go well. That I have something like what? Oh, 214 followers now. It's nothing in the grand scheme of things. I am not even close to where my old Twitter account used to be. And that stagnated at about 1,500 followers or something like that, because it was a very early Twitter account. And but I think I get to kid myself that people give a shit what I'm thinking more often than they actually do. And that is really the sole purpose of Twitter. There's right, there's very few what I would say like real life people that I interact on Twitter with. I put it this way, I've never been for a drink with anyone I follow on Twitter. I've never had any of them stay over at my house or a night out with any of them or anything like that. That kind of friend. You know, none of them are on Facebook with me. It's purely just a public interaction thing. And it is just narcissistic feeding. So I hate it. I really hate it. And if it went away and shut down tomorrow, I would be happy about it. If I'm perfectly honest, I think it would be good for me, and I think it would be good for society, for like all of Western society, to shut that the fuck down. Yeah, that's where I am with it. Because I think, by and large, most people fighting a cause on Twitter are obnoxious about it. Pick a cause, pick a side. I don't care. All of them. Yeah. That's just how I roll, though. I hate the world enough. You know, Trump's famous, oh, very fine people on both sides. I'm the opposite. Both sides are shitbags, and I don't want anything to do with either of them. That's where I am. Everybody's as bad as each other, and they all do it on Twitter. And I don't know why I look at it. It's by no means literally everybody. Present company excluded, of course, all of that stuff. But it's most people. I have a list of trending topics here on the side. And if I click on any one of them, it will be a list of people, some of whom are saying that thing is very, very good. And some of them are saying that thing is very, very bad. And both of them hate the other group of people. And I don't care about any of it enough to hate anybody, let alone get upset about. Why do I look at Twitter? I honestly don't know. It's just become habit at this point. I was paying for a blue tick for a few months. I'm no longer paying for the blue tick. I don't know that it did me any good. I hear that it can. I still see stuff that where people talk about how it helps and it does grow your account and that sort of thing, but you still have to put into Twitter more than I was ever willing to do or happy to do or whatever. So fuck it. But Elon makes me laugh. Elon makes me laugh, bless him. And I wonder what will happen when it all goes wrong for him, because I feel like, you know, the bigger the bubble, the more public the downfall, the more spectacular it will be. I don't know. There's a lot said about it. And there's a lot that could potentially happen to ruin Elon's day. And we'll see how it goes. But I honestly think grab the popcorn. Which brings me to my topic. Taking responsibility for narcissistic behavior. I think. Because, you know, I don't think Elon's ever gonna. I'm God. Can you imagine, like, if there's ever a therapist that fixes Elon Musk, whatever, can you get like a Nobel Prize in psychology? There must be a Nobel Prize in psychology. If you, whatever is the highest honor that can be bestowed on somebody who does therapy if you fix Elon Musk. Jesus, you know? It's... Wow. If you manage to do... I don't know that you could. I don't know that anyone could. Or anyone will. He'd have to go first, right? He'd have to voluntarily see you, and that's never going to happen. Anyway. So at what point are you responsible for this? Here's my question. I guess it's a moral ethics thing, isn't it? At what point are you responsible for your behavior? And it's easy to label it into narcissism, but you could, pick a thing, pick a cluster B, whatever. That moment of realization, I talk about this often, that moment of realization when you figure, holy shit, I did all those things and they were horrible. I was the bad guy. It was me. I did all those things and I hurt all those people. But I didn't mean to, because I was being driven by personality disorders, trauma, fear, whatever. And it made me act out in this way. So all of that stuff that I did when I was my own mini Elon with less power and money and fame and fortune. And to be fair, fewer large flashing lights. But, like, yeah, I upset some people. And I think there's people who, there's people that I did that to who will just never speak to me again. Who, if they were told I went on fire, would probably have a little chuckle to themselves and get on with their day. I get that. And there are people who I think have forgiven me. There are people who've understood. There are people who have understood and not been able to let it go because I still did those things. And I feel a lot of guilt and shame for those things. Of course I do. I don't want to behave like that. I never meant to be someone who hurts people. I never meant to be a bad person. I wanted to always be a good person. I just had a fucked up idea of what being a good person involved. And so when you start to get that readjusted for yourself, you get that guilt and shame. It comes along and like, holy shit, I did all that bad stuff. And you feel 20 years worth of guilt all dumped on you at the same time. And it takes weeks to go through this process of waking up in the middle of the night and you're like, oh shit, I remember that other thing I did. That was really shitty. That's another thing. Write it down. And this process goes on for a while. But you eventually reach a point because you come to this realization as part of your healing journey, right? I was in therapy already. That's why it all came out, right? Before I was in therapy, I wasn't analyzing my behavior to figure out if I was a good person or not. I was very set on the fact that I was doing everything right. And so it wasn't until I got into that therapy and started questioning behaviors and having other people's opinions that I would listen to and talking and all that stuff that you realize, oh shit, I did it all. But at that point, you start to, like, how responsible for all that am I? Was that my fault? Did I do wrong? I did wrong, but I didn't mean to. I didn't know I was doing wrong. If I'd known I was doing wrong, I wouldn't have done wrong. Because there are other things, if I was just happy doing wrong, there's lots of stuff I can do then, right? That's then if I'm happy with being badly thought of and doing the wrong thing and that sort of thing, then all bets are off, right? So, but clearly I am not okay with that because there's lots of stuff that I clearly won't do. So when I've done something that means I've hurt somebody or done the wrong thing, I feel bad about that. Or at least now I do. No, I did then. I just didn't know what it was and didn't accept that I was doing that. And so I sort of forgive myself that period of my life. All of that shit. because I thought I was doing the right thing, or I at least didn't think what I was doing was too bad, or really all that bad at all. I found a way to be okay with it. And ideally, it's not stuff I would have been doing had I not had my childhood and all of that. By the way, if you missed the TikTok live stream, I've just done the ACEs test and found out I had a very traumatic childhood, apparently. So that's the thing. It seemed like a bit of a bullshit test, though. 10 questions, yes or no, but whatever. I scored 3, if that means anything. Lost my train of thought. So yeah, I forgive myself that period. But I was in therapy, as I say. I was learning about me and my traumas and facing those traumas. I was learning about NPD and BPD. I was reading my own stuff. I was watching videos. I was doing my group and joining in with people like that. Hi, Ray. Nice to see you. The lights are green. And as I was doing that, that was as I was starting to become self-aware. That was the point where I was starting to know, oh, these things I do are wrong. These things I do hurt people. And I don't want to hurt people. And I do these things. So if I stop doing these things, I'll stop hurting people. And I knew all about why I was doing those things. I understood that these things, these behaviors were coming from my fears, from my traumas, from I was trying to prove stuff to people from my past. I was trying to be somebody that somebody else would be proud of. So many things, like 3 years of therapy. I'm not summing that up in a paragraph, right? And at that point, once I was aware of what I did, once I knew why, once I knew where it all came from, the way it played out, and I knew that my actions were wrong. And do you know what? More to the point, never got me what I wanted. Right? Never worked out positively for me, really, ever. A lot of them I could stop doing immediately. Like that day. A lot of, right, I break I don't know what bearing this has in real science or anything, but for me, these things break down into 2 categories. We have internal, we have external, right? We have the things that we do that affect other people and the things that we do that affect us internally. And the things that I did that affected other people break down into a further thing. Some of them are reactionary. Some of them, like the rage, for example, that stuff's complicated. That stuff's difficult, right? That's the rage. Rage comes from a dark, deep place inside, that sort of thing. And it's very impulsive. It's very emotional. It's very explosive. It happens a lot with little to no warning. And boom, rage, right? Other things within that category are a lot more complicated to do than rage. These are less emotional. These are the colder, more planned, thought out things. The things I'm plans of revenge, plans of attack, the Machiavellian manipulative shit. The stuff that I have to decide to do and then put actions in motion. Right? There's quite a few things like that. Some of those break down further into, unhealthy coping mechanisms, that sort of thing. It's a bad example, but If you want to get drunk, you have to go through a process. It doesn't happen impulsively. You have to decide, I want to get drunk. I'm going to go to the shop. I'm going to buy some alcohol. I'm going to bring it home. I'm going to drink it. There is a process involved. Other things that we get narcissistic feeling from. Cheating. I'm going to go on Tinder. I'm going to talk to people. I'm going to meet them. This is not going to happen today. This is going to happen over days, weeks, months, whatever. It's colder, more planned out thing. And all of that shit, well, that could stop immediately. That was the stuff that straight away, I can't do this anymore. I can't treat people like that. Can't talk to people like that. Can't use people in this way anymore. You know, that sort of thing. Yeah, getting drunk's a bad example. Cheating's a better one, because that's a more sort of cold, planned out sort of thing. You know, that doesn't happen impulsively. There's thought into this. What I'm talking about is stuff where you have the chance to hit the brake pedal, where you have that opportunity to say, I am about to do a fucked up thing, and I know I'm about to do a fucked up thing. Am I going to do it anyway? And all of that stuff. That sort of just stop, because that's external. There's so many opportunities to pump the brake on that. That's where it is. And I sort of like this stuff. Now, straight away, the burden of responsibility, the burden of having to say about yourself, I know I'm doing a bad thing. I know I'm doing a bad thing, and I could stop this. I could choose not to do this, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna do the bad thing. Like, that's when continuing to do that stuff becomes morally indefensible. That's when it becomes the stuff that is like deeper, darker shit to deal with. Because I don't have this. And maybe this is the BPD side of things affecting me. Maybe this is my lack of empathy that put me in this state. This idea that there could be these cold things that I could do that hurt other people, and I know they do, and I do them anyway, knowing that they hurt other people and knowing why I'm doing it. You know, knowing why I'm doing it, being able to stand and shout at that guy, thinking, this makes me feel so much better about myself. Look at you, poor little thing. I'm just using you to sort of feel better about myself. Once that happens, I couldn't go on with that. I couldn't do that. I didn't have that thing. And I know what it feels like to do it, because I've gone down the dehumanizing route. That empathy that I have can be turned off. There are situations where that empathy can go, and then I will eat you. But I managed to like that was it. And that responsibility kicks in on that day. It kicks in on that day where I have to say, if I'm doing this, I'm just an utter shitbag. And I don't want to be an utter shitbag. So I have to not ever do this again. Whatever I have to do to fucking cope with that, I have to never do this shit again. Now, the other stuff that also lives in that category, the more impulsive stuff, your rage, whatever. Again, it's harder to stop. I think that was harder to stop. That wasn't a, I'm just never gonna be angry again thing. And look, even a couple of years into therapy, I was still eating people. That's a thing. You know, there were at least 3 other people who left therapy because they couldn't be in a room with me. So I know that feeling, right? And that took longer to stop. And it had to slow down. It had to calm down. But at no point did I feel like a lack of responsibility for it. Like, I was still doing that. And I might have been angry and I might have been raging. But the way it worked for me was I gave myself permission to. I'm brutally honest. When I talk about hitting that line and dehumanizing so that I can go on that unempathic attack, that I choose that. I choose that because I feel like, to me, it's this weapon in my arsenal. It's this thing. It's this, you can push me so far, but I will break and you will regret this. Right? It's this thing. And I could feel cornered enough, feel pushed enough, whatever, to unleash that. But it's a choice. I chose to. And I chose it knowing it would feel good. And that's why when I still talk about it, when I still talk about the worst things I've ever said and worst things I've ever done, I'll get that little grin. I'll get that little smile. Like, yeah, I remember what I said. I remember he cried. Yeah, I chose that. That's a fucked up, shitty thing to do. Really is. I can't defend that. I won't try, really. I did the fucked up shit. I fucking enjoyed it. And I kind of just have to accept that I did it. And I did the bad thing. All I can do is not do it again. That's the best thing I can do with it, isn't it? Like, that taking responsibility is about changing behavior, getting better, improving, becoming closer to the person that I want to be. Because if I'm not doing that, then I'm just being that utter shitbag that I was that day. Right? I have so many words to describe what horrible thing I was that day. You can imagine them all. Most of them are 4 letters. They're all unpleasant words for body parts. That's what I was. I was that. And I don't want to be that, but I was that. I fucking was that. And I will hold my hand up and tell you that I was that. And I have to move on from it. And I am, right? I don't intend to do that to somebody again. And I feel bad about it. I feel bad that I enjoyed it. I feel bad that I did it knowing what I was doing. That, for me, is the most indefensible part of it. Right? That to me is the bit that made me a bad person. That made me immoral, in the wrong. Was that I knew I was doing it. I was so self-aware. And I felt it happen. Right? I was listening to this person talking to me and saying all the things they were saying that were winding me up. Their fucking existence was winding me up. They could have been silent and I'd have got pissed off at them. And it's like, you could eat them. I shouldn't, though. Yeah, but you could. You know how good that's going to feel, right? You know how much fun it's going to be to make him cry, don't you? Like, yeah, but that's what that's not going to help me. That's not going to get me out of it. That's not going to fix anything. It won't solve this problem, this disagreement that we've had, this reason why I don't like this person. You know, do you know, for the record, why I didn't like that person? Because 18 months before I ate them, they had made a joke about my dog that I didn't like. And I sat on that for 18 months thinking, I'm going to destroy you one day. I'm going to fucking break you one day. I sat on that. And there were a few times where you're thinking, yeah, is this the day? Is this the day? I feel like this could be the day. I feel like I'm ready for it. I just want to see him cry. And that day eventually came. Because I was waiting for it. I was ready for it. I'd been dreaming about it, fantasizing about it. This was like, I knew all the things I was gonna say, and I said them all, and everything landed, everything hit its target. This person was just fucking eviscerated verbally, and never came back. And for a couple of weeks, like, yeah, I fucking won that. Do you see what happens? Do you see what happens when you behave in a way I don't approve of? And you think you can do what the fuck you want. You see what happens? Yeah, there was a few weeks of gloating. A few weeks of real fucking pride over what I'd done. And then the inevitability of it. It's almost comical when you realize, oh fuck, I'm a piece of shit. And you are. You're an absolute piece of shit. You've done the thing. You know you did the thing. You planned the thing. You had 18 months of therapy to decide not to do the thing, and you did the thing. You utter bastard. And then it all lands on your fucking head in one go, doesn't it? That downfall is inevitable, right? That downfall comes. It comes for you, and it eats you up. And it eats you up for one time for every other person you ate up times a million. Because you realize it was not a step in the right direction. That was a big leap backwards. That was a massive leap backwards. And having to take responsibility for that hurt. Really fucking hurt. And still does. Like, it's like a blight. It's like, do you know I like talking about it? Because then I'm so not hiding it. Right? It's like, if I hid it, it's like I'm lying to you. It's like I am not what I present to be. There's this fucking skeleton in the closet. And look, this is one example. I said 3 people, right? There are other examples. And that's just fucking group. I was out in the world doing grim shit the rest of the time as well. My ex-girlfriend will have some stories. My friends have some stories, right? But that responsibility, what do I do? Because I have to tell you about it. I have to get it out there. I have to be imperfect. I have to share it. Because otherwise, it's a secret. And that becomes a different thing. That becomes a complicated thing. That becomes this idea that I'm like this self-aware healing journey bullshit person. But I'm not telling you just how bad. there's some, I don't know. It wouldn't fit right. It wouldn't sit correctly for me. This idea that I'm, because I think once you start talking about responsibility for your behavior and becoming self-aware, I think there are sort of three ways you can go with it. You either move into camp one, which is, oh shit, I've done all this stuff. I feel awful about it. I must stop. And you stop. And then there's camp two, which is, I've done all this stuff. I don't care. I'm a narcissist. Fuck it. This is what I do. And you keep doing it. And then I think there's option three, which is sort of, I know this shit is bad. I know everybody else knows this shit is bad, and I know that I would be badly thought of in a way I don't want to be badly thought of if I keep doing this stuff. But I really want to keep doing this stuff. And so I'll do this stuff secretly. I'll do this stuff and hide it. And I don't think that's healing. I don't think that's getting better. I think that's keeping doing stuff and finding a reason to keep doing it. And I could hide it all. And I could pretend it's not there. And that sort of thing. But I don't think that gets me anywhere. And you know what? I think it does me good to take some fucking responsibility for some of the dark shit I've done. I think it is useful. You know? I've gotten a lot of use out of the bad feelings from BPD NPD, right? It's helped me move on. Do you know, it's something that helped me. A big incident for me that has stuck with me. It wasn't even a big incident, but it involved something that was fucking humiliating, and that's why it stuck with me. Was oh god, I can't even remember when it was. I'd had to go to the Apple Genius bar, right? The Apple store for, I think it was my iPad 4 that had broken. It was my iPad 4. I blew out the audio connector. So whenever iPad 4s were a thing. And I went there and sat at that table, and I sat and I waited. And I started, my appointment time passed, and I'm waiting to see other people come in after me and get seen before me, and so many other things. And I eventually went and found a member of staff, and like, hey, what gives? I've been sat here for like an hour. What's the fucking deal? And they, oh, did you check in with us when you arrived? Like, no. I thought you just had to come and sit at the table. Like, no, you need to come and check in with the guy at the front of the store. Do you see the guy? That's Brian. He's checking people in at the front of the store. Like, the fuck? I don't know about Brian. And they were trying to calm me down because I'm getting angrier at this point. Poor Brian's shitting himself. And they're like, look, we're packed. We can't see you right now, but we can book another appointment. Would you like to book another appointment? And I fucking lost my shit. I went nuts in the middle of the fucking Leeds Apple store. Was it the Leeds one? It was Meadowhall. Doesn't matter. I went fucking nuts at having to rebook my appointment because I hadn't signed in with them when I arrived. And I made the biggest scene I could. There was a lot of noise. I'm surprised there isn't a YouTube video of it. That kind of thing. Stormed off out of the shop. Now, the problem is, right, my iPad was still fucking broken. And who fixes iPads? The guys in that shop that I've just yelled at. And I need an appointment. I don't have one. So now I have to shuffle back in there with my tail between my legs and my head hung low. And in my quietest, most apologetic, I'm so sorry that I'm such an utter twat voice, try and arrange a new appointment with them staring at me with the, oh yeah, you need a new appointment now, don't you, dickhead, face on. And the humiliation and embarrassment of that moment that's the feeling that I recall when I get angry in shops and stuff. That's the one. That's the negative feeling that helps me so much. That was a long time to tell that story, wasn't it? I hope you're all still there and awake. That was very wordy. I shouted at someone in the Apple store and then had to go back and book an appointment. That was the sentence. I could have done it like that. I like being dramatic. As my dad says, you like saying a lot of words, don't you? Why use 10 words when 8,000 will do? I just like the sound of my own voice. But that feeling of humiliation and pain that day, like, I couldn't go through that again. I just couldn't go through that again. And that was the one that put me on the road to just never shouting at anyone again. Like, honestly, just never shouting at anyone again. Certainly not in shops and things like that, because it doesn't get you what you want. None of it gets you what you want, does it? But if I don't accept responsibility for that, right? If I don't say, that was me, I made a choice and I made a shit choice, and I hurt those people, I made myself look like a fucking idiot in the middle of the Apple store, and then I had to go in again and beg for my little appointment and my forgiveness because I was such a fucking idiot. If I don't accept that I did that and that I chose that, then I'm gonna do it again, because why the fuck wouldn't I? If it's just a thing that I've got that makes me do that, then why stop? Why work on it? Why give it up? Why try not to do it anymore? I'm just a dude with NPD. I can't help how I behave. Unless I accept some fucking responsibility for myself. Unless I say, I know that was a bad thing. And I did the bad thing. And I can't do the bad things anymore. You know? And that is the key realization to it all. That's the important bit to get to. You can know your motivations. You can know your traumas, your problems. You can know why you do things and where these things come from. But until you can say, and then for I'm not going to do them anymore, then all the self-awareness in the world doesn't mean shit. Right? Doesn't mean fucking anything. But I think it's a great way to make other people feel like we're doing something. Right? I think it's a good way to con other people. Look how self-aware I am. Look how much I know. Look how much work I'm doing to find out why I do these things. Have you stopped doing them? Look at the work I'm doing to find out about why I'm doing these things. You just hurt me. Shh! I'm self-aware. No. We have to also stop doing the thing. That's ultimately what makes you a better person. That's ultimately what healing is. Becoming self-aware, I think, is this halfway house of bullshit that we get stuck in. More so on the NPD than the BPD, but both. I do a thing. I do this thing. Can't help it, really. Yeah, you fucking can. And don't tell me you fucking can't, because I know you can. Because I could have done. I'm not special. Right? I'm not better than anybody else, and I could have stopped. I just chose not to. And do you know what? I didn't always know what to do instead. Which is why that's why something I've always told people to do is think of these triggering situations and decide what you would like to do ahead of time. Don't decide it in the moment. You can't decide in the moment you're being a dickhead. You need a go-to plan ahead of time. I didn't have that. I didn't know what the correct reaction was. And you don't know, perhaps you don't know what a good intensity of reaction is. You don't want to suddenly let yourself become a doormat, but you also don't want to become overly aggressive. You need to find that middle ground of assertiveness, and that takes time, work, talking to other people, I'm finding. Questions that I get asked a lot fall into this category of, I'm doing this and I think this. Am I the crazy one? Is this right? Am I reacting correctly to this? Because I think we have no frame of reference unless we talk to each other. This is why I think a little bit of, that community in cluster B stuff, it's what I got out of group therapy as opposed to like one-to-one therapy, was having those other people there to talk to about that stuff. And so it's important to get that balance right and figure out where it is, but it's easy to dial it back. It's easy to not go in for the kill. It's easy to actually not do that thing. You've just got to want to, I think. And I think that from point of self-awareness, and I cannot tell you how much I want to use the word awareness, but after self-awareness, then it does all become a choice. It really is at that point. You decide to do wrong. You decide to make the bad decision. You fucking do. And you do. And I know people don't like hearing shit like this from me because they know I'm not making it up. Right? I'm not a fucking victim in this. I am the fucking perpetrator. And so I know we have a choice. I know we can decide to do wrong. And at that point, all of this cluster B stuff and all of that lack of responsibility we might have had before that goes out the fucking window. At that point, you just become a bad person choosing to do wrong. And your personality disorder, in my opinion, actually has fuck all to do with it. Right? You know you're doing wrong. You were only doing wrong before because you didn't know, and now you know and you're doing it, so why? And the unavoidable answer is you found a way to be okay with it. Like, whatever that is. Whether it's like, oh, I've only just discovered it, I'm not healing properly yet. Or whether you just like, yeah, shrug it off. I'm a narcissist. Fucking deal with it, bitch. I don't know, but I think we find a way to be okay with it. When I sit there and eviscerate the big guy, yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, this is for everyone who ever thought they could intimidate me. This is not just you. This is that kid at school, all those bullies at school. This is my parents. This is teachers and college professors. This is so many people who ever thought that they could control me or pressure me or make me behave in a particular way. And it all comes, and I know I'm doing it. If I know I'm doing it, makes me bad. Makes me morally questionable. Look, God, we can have the debate all day on the ethical dilemma of what does anything really matter. Aren't we all just goo on a rock in space? Yeah, fair enough. But the fact is, I want to be seen in a particular way. I want to be thought of in a particular way. And I want those things to be positive, as seen by society at large. And so I have to be that. I have to put in that work to be the person that I want to be seen as. I can lie my way through it. I can con my way through it. I can pretend that I am not that person, that I am better, that I'm healing because, hey, I'm self-aware. But as they say, apology without change behavior is manipulation. I'm a big fan of that. And so you have to work to become the person that you want to be. To realize I cannot eat this person because eating people is wrong. It really is like living with fucking venom in your head. It really is. But I have control over venom because that's me and venom isn't real. But I can do that. I can take that control. I can take that responsibility because I have to, because I want to be that person that I want to be. That's my goal. I have a target. I have an aim, right? My aim is to be somebody that just doesn't get angry like that. That doesn't lose their temper. I think we're edging into the philosophical debate of is anger a bad emotion? Definitely when applied incorrectly, right? Anger can be something that spurs you on, that brings about positive change, but more commonly, it is something that brings about pain and destruction, isn't it? And I don't want that in my life. I don't want people to be afraid of me. I don't want people to suffer that emotional instability, all of this stuff. You know, there's so many reasons why I don't want to be that person, that thing. And I have to do that. I have to live it. I have to walk the walk. Otherwise, I'm just full of shit. Otherwise, I'm lying to you. Right? I'm making videos talking about how self-aware I am. I'm doing fucking life coaching stuff. I'm telling other people. But really, I'd just be a, lie. Front. Something. A shell of a thing. And I'd not be getting any better. We can mask to hide so much. And, you know, I think we start off by masking the stuff that hurts us. And I think we end up by masking the stuff that we know hurts other people. To allow us to continue to feel that. It's very stunted. It's not progressive. It's not healing. It's not growth. It's finding a way to stay stuck in your ways. It's hiding the bottle of vodka behind the toilet. It's all this stuff. You know? It's finding that way to carry on with the bad you know you're doing. So it's a problem. We have to stop it. We have to grow the fuck up and get over it. Because I don't want to be a piece of shit. I really don't. I don't want to be a piece of shit. So I have to not do the things that make me a piece of shit. And part of that for me is saying, yeah, I did that. Being able to tell the world, yeah, I did that. I have done things in my life that I'm not proud of, things that I'm ashamed of, things that I would take back if I could. But I can't do those things, so I can change. I can be better going forward. I'm aware of something else. It's easier for me at this point because it's been a long time since I ate somebody. Right? I'm going back to incidents in group throughout therapy and that sort of thing. Look, that ended last October, and the last incident before that was a while before that. It's been a long while for me, and it's the more time under your belt away from those things without doing that, I think the easier it is to face, the easier it is to admit to and deal with. Because look, I can say, it's been a long time since I've shown this behavior. I have all this growth to show. From point of becoming self-aware to today is a long journey that has happened, and there's proof of this. And while it was not a perfect journey, because no journey is, there were hiccups along the way, there were bumps in the road, there were some casualties. We lost a few people along the way, but I'm here now, and it's been a long time since that happened. And I think that's easier at this point, right? My guilt and shame about making people cry today is nothing like what it was 2 weeks after it happened, right? It's quelled down because I've not made anybody cry since, which is a positive move in my book of references, I guess. That's got to be a thing. Have I been talking for about an hour without looking up, really? Good, you're all still there. Hello. Hello, everybody. I hope you're all well. I hope you're all awake still. I hope you're all doing good. What time are we on? Oh God, I think I just talked for about an hour. Welcome to every podcast I ever made. Should we do an hour on Star Trek now? Oh no, something a bit more niche. Quantum Leap. Something that's, taking responsibility. For me, it's a personal thing, I think. Taking responsibility. Because I'm the only one that's going to benefit now. I don't know where I'm going with that thought. Ignore me. Should we talk about Quantum Leap? Have you seen the Quantum Leap remake? I have not and will not. And it's not a remake, is it? Here's some more Quantum Leap. Nobody asked for that. Stay in your lane. No. And do you know what? It's based around the fact that I know they don't know how to make television anymore. Right? And I've already suffered the loss of Star Trek, which hurts. It hurts so much. And people are like, oh, the Lower Decks is fun. Fuck you. Fuck you. Is that what we're reduced to now? Really? No. Don't come at me with that. And then they come for Quantum Leap. I don't know. I don't know. It's terrible, really. But at least those old things still exist. Those old things still exist. For me, do you know what? They're bizarrely intrinsically linked with childhood memories of my mother. And that sort of thing. These were shows I always watched with mum. Those were my watch with mother shows, not Andy Pandy. Did I just show my age a lot? Right? I am not fucking old enough to have seen Andy Pandy on television. That was my parents. Don't you dare. None of you know what Andy Pandy is, do you? You've no fucking clue. Okay. You're either far too young or American. That's okay. That's okay. Good for you. But yeah, those. Anyway, kind of got off track. Hi, Cat. Looking at that. Anyway, it's good to know you're all still there. I'm not doing Quantum Leap now. Do you know, it was a Quantum Leap podcast that stopped me doing podcasts. That was it. I was done with it when had a Quantum Leap podcast on the go, and it was doing nothing. No one gave a shit. Andy Pandy, yeah, right. So Andy Pandy was right. Is Andy Pandy a puppet? It's a kids show from like the 50s, maybe earlier. Let me Google this for you. Andy Pandy TV show from 1950 to 1957. This was what my parents watched on TV when they got the TV after it was invented. Oh look, it has been redone in horrible animation since then. From 2002 to 2003. But that was the thing. But the reason why I mentioned it, you want to get me off topic. The reason why I mentioned it was because it was part of a group of shows from the time that became known as the Watch with Mother shows. That was and watch. Yeah, I bet we can Google that. Watch with Mother, 1960s. A cycle of children's programs created by Frida Lindstrom and Maria Bird. Andy Pandy. What else? Bill and Ben, the Flower Pot Men, Ragtag and Bobtail, and the Wooden Tops. To those of you unfamiliar with Bill and Ben, the Flower Pot Men, take some acid and go and watch it. It's one of those shows. Tales of the Riverbank. Honestly, YouTube some of this stuff. It's bewildering. Oh, and later Camberwick Green, which of course, very good there. Muffin the Mule. Go and watch Muffin the Mule on YouTube. That's the classic woman with the piano being terribly British and singing songs about Muffin the Mule. And there's a puppet on top of the piano with all the strings in it. Honestly. Back when there was only live television. Buckle up, y'all. Exactly. I will not do Bill and Ben, Flower Pot Men impressions, although there will have definitely been times in my life when I have. I would say. Have I seen The Outer Limits? Of course I've seen The Outer Limits. I've seen all of The Outer Limits. I even did a podcast episode on the original 60s episodes of The Outer Limits. I've seen all of those. That was a good show. I did, right? I briefly did a podcast called Ray Guns and Go-Go Boots, which may still be online somewhere. Look on SoundCloud. And I stopped doing it because I massively fell out with the person who I did it with. Because he's a piece of shit. Person I'm still split on. But we did lots of classic sci-fi on that show. So I have seen. I mean, look, I was a sci-fi nerd ahead of time anyway. That's how you end up doing a show like that. But yeah, all of the classics I've seen in their entirety. Shows that do not deserve to be viewed in their entirety. Don't watch all of Logan's Run. Watch the movie Logan's Run. It's quite an iconic sci-fi movie, and you've got Jenny Agutter in there, who is, quite frankly, breathtaking in that film. But don't watch the TV show, and I've seen all of it. Right? The Prisoner. That is 2 series of what the fuck? And I've seen all of it. And it ends, and you spent a whole series going, but what am I looking at? And it ends, and you go, but what was that? And don't watch that. Don't watch The Prisoner. Life's too short. I watch these things so you don't have to. Or at least I used to. I'm not watching shit now. That's your business. That said, finish Secret Invasion. Oh. Wow, was that bad? Was that bad? Oh. Oh dear. Oh, that was fucking awful. Really. And it started out badly. And it trailed off somewhere in the middle. And the less said about the end, the better. But, you know. And Ray, I was always cool. Was there ever a point when I was not? Really? You know. God. I was very cool once, I'll have you know. My Wikipedia entry's still up. No. Oh dear. There's also a guitarist called Richard Smith who is starting to get more internet attention than me. Now it's current. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Just gonna search for my name on. Yeah, I think I'm gone from Wikipedia. I should be. Oh, that's actually a little bit disappointing. I'll be honest. But there you go. Taken off Wikipedia. Or unless I'm in a other. No, I'm not. Oh, I'm kind of a bit sad at that. Somebody write me a new Wikipedia article. Am I really gone? Oh well. Yeah, I am. Bastard. I was like the fourth most famous person from Doncaster on Wikipedia for a while. Then One Direction came along, and one of them is off from Doncaster, so fuck him. Anyway, where are we? 20 past 10. So I will call it a night. I feel like I've done a good rant and put you all to sleep and that sort of thing. And now I'm just talking shit. So I don't want to bore you and that sort of thing. So I will get off and all of that sort of thing. I will remind you to go and follow me on Patreon, follow me on TikTok, follow me on YouTube memberships, follow me on Instagram and Twitter. That there are links to all of this at earlymorningbarking.com. And there's all sorts of content with my absolutely gorgeous, sexy face all over it. I was going to say bottom, but I haven't done an OnlyFans yet. We'll see. Okay. So you lot take care. You lot look after yourselves and that sort of thing. And I will speak to you all later. You take care. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.